Very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about spatial decision support system and the use of GIS technology for preparing or for making a good spatial decision support system. In the previous classes, we have discussed about decision support system. So basically, decision support system helps us to make any decision, helps us to make a efficient decision on the basis of the available data sets. Okay. So now spatial decision support system means now we are dealing with spatial data sets. When we are going to make any decision, when we are going to take or when we are going to work on the policy making or decision making on the basis of spatial data sets. So this kind of spatial decision support system is used, it can be performed using the geographical information system. So spatial decision support system is also known as SDSS. In short, we call it as a SDSS. And today we will see what are the different decision support systems based on the spatial data sets and how GIS helps us to make a proper spatial decision support system. Okay, so GIS, as we know, that geographical information system is a computer based information technology, computer based system to get, to analyze, to manipulate, or to display the geographically referenced data sets. Okay, and GIS also require to have good performing computers. So GIS and computers can synthesize the data and perform the analysis and the modeling. Okay, but when we analyze something, when we work on the analysis of some data sets, so we need to make some decisions. So how GIS will be helpful to make any decision if we are, suppose if we are working on a large data set, on the basis of that we need to work on some decision. So GIS helps us to make any decision. So decisions can be top down or bottom down, means it can start from the managerial level or the public participation. So in both way we can prepare, in both way we can make decision, either from top to bottom or from bottom to up. And GIS is, you all know, you all are very well aware with the GIS technology, how it works, what are the components of GIS, and how many types of GIS data sets are used in the uh, practice in the current scenario. Okay, so spatial decision problem. So how we are required to have spatial decision. Okay, so the main characteristics of spatial decision alternatives. Okay, if you have analyzed something, if you have analyzed any data set, so it will provide you many alternatives, it will provide you multiple results, multiple outputs. So you need to choose most optimal, most stable solution out of all the alternatives. It's a consequence of the decision alternatives that are spatially variable. Each alternative is evaluated on the basis of the multiple criteria, and some of the criteria are qualitative. More than one decision maker involved in the decision making process, and the decision makers or the person working on decision making process have different preferences on the evaluation criteria and the decision consequences. Decisions are often surrounded by the uncertainty, and we like nimbysm, NIMBYISM. Okay, so this is an example of how we can use spatial decision problem. So the main problem is to choose the most optimal alternative. The main problem is to choose the most appropriate solution to any problem. Okay, because if a group of person is working on the same problem, so multiple users or multiple different people having different criteria to evaluate your result, to evaluate your data set. So you need to choose appropriate decision making process. You need to work on the most alternative method, most appropriate alternative for the spatial decision making solution. Okay, so this is a case study of emergency management decision support GIS for the Tampa Bay region. Okay, now we will see how GIS can be used for decision making process using this case study, which is a emergency management decision support system by the GIS. Okay, the emergency management means we should have some domestic preparedness, then vulnerability assessment, mitigation planning, training, incident management, and recovery. Okay, when we are working on emergency management system is also kind of a spatial decision support system. It can be done. Emergency management can be done on the basis of decision making process using spatial data sets. So when we work on the emergency management system, it is having multiple components starting from the preparedness, then vulnerability assessment, mitigation planning, training, then there may be incident management and the recovery. Okay, so this is the way you all know this is the layer. These are the multiple layers integrated in a single platform. Okay, storm categories means it is showing the areas which is most affected by the storm in case of any storm near the area. Okay, so this is having multiple layers, multiple vector layers. In this map, in this figure, you see it is a highly urbanized area, and this urbanized area is now having vulnerability. They are having some decision making in the case of storm, in the case of any hurricane or cyclone. So these are the areas affected by the storm, and the different colors are showing different categories. Different colors are showing the vulnerability level for to that area. Okay, so category 3 hurricane. Okay, category 3 is a hurricane, means as we know that different storm categories having different vulnerability, having different effects on the human life and the property in that area. Okay, so category 3 is totally based on the effect of the hurricane. Hurricane is a small type of cyclone, the small cyclonic condition in the northern America. Basically, the hurricane word is introduced in the American continent. The type of cyclone in the American continent or near the American coast are known as the hurricane. Okay, so this is the emergency management system. It is showing that how much area and which area is most vulnerable to the uh, hurricane in terms of property loss or human life, loss of human life and other things. So this is the extreme risk property owners, means this table is showing the name of the person whose property or whose house or land is most vulnerable at higher risk in case of hurricane. So it can be done using GIS. GIS helps you to provide some information about the area in terms of different spatially referenced data sets. Okay, so this is the way in which we can use GIS for preparing a risk map. That risk map provides you the information about the vulnerability level in case of hurricane or in case of any cyclone. The name of cyclone in American continent is known as hurricane. Okay, so hurricane, cyclone, these are the name, and these are almost similar names depending on the location of the origination of that storm. Okay, so this is the risk damage assessment, means it is expected that in case of storm, there may be three different affected areas. Some areas of that region is will be extremely affected, some areas will have highly affected, some areas or some number of houses will be affected, moderately affected. So here you see the on the basis of the assessment, on the basis of the vulnerability assessment, 5299 houses are at the extreme risk. Okay, 5343 houses or land are at a higher risk, and 7167 houses or lands are at moderate risk. Okay, so they have also estimated the loss in terms of dollar. Okay, so in case of extreme affecting area, in case of the areas which is extremely affected by the storm, the total loss is written here, the total loss of the property here written here. Then in case of high risk affected, highly affected area, is written here, and in case of moderately affected area, the total cost, the total loss of the property is written here. Okay, and so this is the way we can prepare a decision. Now we can work on the evacuation plan on the basis of the areas which is affected by extreme, high and moderate level. We can generate, or we can work on the evacuation plan for evacuating the person living in that area, so that although the property will be lost, but we can save the life of the human in that case, in the case of the storm. Okay, so the historical background, how this decision support system started. So it was first started in 1950s, okay, by the Herbert A. Simon. Herbert A. Simon first time introduced this term, that is decision support system, and it was evolved, it was developed during the 1970s and 80s. And parallelly, there was a concept of SDSS, Spatial Decision Support System. Decision support system can be applied in any field, can be applied in any discipline, but spatial decision support system only deals with the spatial data sets. When we are dealing with the spatial data sets, when we are using GIS, remote sensing based data sets, so that kind of spatial decision support system is known as SDSS. Okay, so this is the SDSS. IBM is a very famous company, International Business Machine. The full form of IBM is International Business Machine. Okay, the first time the IBM started working on this DSS, and it was started in 1970s. SDSS have been associated with the need to expand the GIS capabilities for complex, ill-defined spatial decision problems. A major growth in the research, development, and application of SDSS in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, most of the development in the field of SDSS was done in the last 10 years, but there are many threads with different but related names, such as collaborative SDSS, group SDSS, environmental SDSS, and spatial knowledge based and expert system, PPGIS. Okay, with the development of SDSS, different names came into the market, like collaborative SDSS. It is a type of SDSS, group SDSS, environmental SDSS, spatial knowledge based expert system, PPGIS. These are some synonyms that can be used for the spatial decision support system. Some new words came into the market, came into the scenario, that can be used in place of spatial decision support system. Okay, so the decision making process can be defined by the Simon. Simon divides any decision making process into the phase of decision making: intelligence, design, and the choice. Any decision making process having three components, having three phases. Intelligence, first we need to check, is there a problem or there opportunity? First you need to define the problem, then design, then what are the decision alternatives may be possible, and choice, which alternative is the best. Okay, so the entire decision making process having three phases, having three stages. First you need to identify, you need to define the problem, then what are the decision alternatives, then you should check different alternatives, you should check different outputs, then you need to choose the best alternative out of all the available options. So intelligence, design, and choice, these are the three steps involved in the decision making process. Okay, this is the entire mechanism, entire process represented in the form of graph, in the form of flow chart: intelligence, design, and choice. Okay, so it was started with the problem identification, then what is the objective of your decision making, then alternative, how many alternatives, how many options are available there, then you need to work on the evaluation of each and every alternative, then you can choose the best alternative on the basis of your evaluation results, and then after choosing the most appropriate decision making option, you need to implement, and after implementing your decision, you need to monitor the results. So the entire process, the intelligence, design, and choice is now subdivided into different different factors, subdivided into different steps: problem, goal, objective, alternative, then evaluation, choice, implementation, and the monitoring. So this is the Simon's model. Okay, this is Simon's model because the Simon have developed this term decision support system. So he also introduced a model. He also introduced a decision making process that includes intelligence, design, and choice. These are the three steps that is very much useful for making any decision. Okay, so it is already discussed with you. It is having multiple stages. The intelligence, design, and choice. It is also further at the second level. You can also having multiple stages: the problem, goal, objective, alternative, evaluation, choice, implementation, and monitoring. Okay, so planning methods also having different scenarios. You should also having different planning methods: SWOT, bargaining, then scenario writing, consequences, public meeting support, charity, consultants, stakeholder involvement, and outreach. These are some involvement. These are the steps can also be involved in the planning process. And this is an example of the community-based decision support system. This is a figure showing the decision support system based on the community. Means you should also incorporate the communities. Community can also be involved in the decision making process. You need to work on the feedback which is coming from the communities, local person, local people living in that area. So GIS can be helpful for decision making process. GIS helps in the decision support. GIS or geographical information system having capabilities to support the decision and choice phase of the decision making process. GIS provides you the static modeling environment and that can reduce their scope as a decision support tool, especially so in the context of the problem involving the collaborative decision making. So now we are going to see what is SDSS. SDSS is an extension of the decision support system. It is an interactive computer-based system that is designed to support a user or a group of users in achieving a higher effectiveness of decision making while solving a semi-structured spatial decision problem. Okay, there are three terms: semi-structured, effectiveness, and decision support that captures the essence of the SDSS concept. You need to first check the problem. Your problem is semi-structured or structured. Then how much effective you are having some decision. Then what is your decision support system? So there are three terms: the semi-structured, then effectiveness, and the decision support system. These three are the basis of SDSS. These are the components of SDSS. We should start with the database management system. That database management system or DBMS contains the multiple functions to manage the geographical database. First, we need to collect all the geographical databases. We need to collect all the geographical data sets available for solving any problem. So that can be done by the database management system. Then model-based management system. Model-based management system, MBMS, contains different functions, different operators, or different other mathematical models to manage the database. And third one is the dialogue generation and the management system. It manages the interface between the user and the rest of the system. So when we are going to apply spatial, to start with the management of database, then we will apply some models, we will apply some methods, some mathematical methods to manage that database. And also we can have dialogue generation and management planning. That is a kind of interface between the user and the system. So your decision support system should be user friendly. User can easily understand your decision support system, and there may be some user interface between the user and the system, like between the user and the decision support system. So user can easily use your decision support system. Okay, these are the DSS tools. Different companies, different organizations, or different you can say IT companies, software companies They are having multiple DSS tools that are based on some programming languages and code libraries like Visual Basic, AML, Avenue, Transcad, okay, MapInfo. There are other visual programming languages, Stella, Cantata, Khoros. These are some programming languages that can be used to develop decision support system. There are some inter-application communication softwares, Dynamica Data Exchange, Object Linking, Open Database Connectivity. There may be some simulation languages, simulation software, Simulink, and you can also use different programming interfaces like IBM's Geo Manager, Java Advanced Imaging API, applets, GIS applet, Microsoft Visual. There may be some visual interfaces, some graphics, and some color subrutives that is having GUI, OpenGL, and SVG. Okay, so these are some programs. These are some programming codes, or these are some softwares which is available in the market, which is available in the decision support system market, that can be used for developing, that can be used for making some decision on the basis of the database, whatever the database you are having. The DSS generator, the package of related hardware and software, which provides a set of the capabilities to quickly and easily build a specific SDSS. Okay, in case of GIS, when we talk about GIS, Geographical Information System, so in GIS we are having ArcInfo, ArcView, then there is a tool in ArcGIS, Spatial Analyst, Map Object, GRASS, Idrisi, MapInfo. These are some GIS tools that can be used to produce decision support system. We are also having different database packages like Access, Paradox, DBase, and we are having different decision analysis and optimization software like Lindo, Expert Choice, Logical Decision. We are having some statistical languages. We are having some statistical and geostatistical softwares like S plus, SPSS. These are the statistical softwares that can also be used for producing or for generating the decision support system. And we are having different simulation models, spatial modeling environment. We can use different simulation models, like you can say the in case of forest fire, we can have forest simulation model. In case of land change simulation, we can have different neural network and cellular automata based simulation models that can be used to prepare a decision, that can be used to make any decision in case of a problem. Okay, specific DSS is it is devoted to the analysis of a particular set of decision problems, and it can support the decision makers in tackling the semi-structured problem. It is an active response of geographical information system. Idrisi is also having decision support, GeoMade, and there are some spatial group choices and communities that can have the specific decision support system. For an example, in case of nuclear power plant, if you want to have the decision making in case of nuclear power plant, so these are the case study done over the United States in 1942, based on the database of 130 sites, 130 nuclear sites over the entire United States. You can have the information about the location, and this decision support system can also be worked on the uh, cleaning of the toxic waste that will be radioactive for hundreds of thousands of the years, that can be very harmful to the sea life or the oceans. Okay, where is it now? Wet and dry. This is an example. The 50 years of decision making. It was started in 1950s, and in 1957, NRC report they recommended buying the waste in the permanent repository. We need to have a safe site for 70,000 tons of the highly radioactive waste. If you want to see the, if you want to work on the disposal sites for the radioactive waste, so we can use decision support system. We can use decision making based on the DSS. Okay, so now this is another case study, Yucca Mountain, and this is the journey of Yucca Mountain. This is a case study on how to work on the burial of different radioactive materials. Okay, so these are the disposal sites. These are the disposal sites that was identified on the basis of decision support system to dispose the radioactive elements, radioactive materials. Okay, so these are the locations which is identified on the basis of decision support system, and that was used to make proper decision in case of the disposal of this you can say radioactively radioactive materials. So Yucca Mountain Waste Repository. This is a case study of the United States. I am discussing the case study, how they are using decision support system for the disposal of the radioactive waste. Okay, so they have to work on the decision support system. They have started working on decision support system, and on that basis, they have find out some suitable location for the disposal of the radioactive waste. Okay, so this is a case studies. These are the effective continuum and dual permeability. So on that basis, they have fractures and the matrix assumed to be in pressure equilibrium, and fractures can flow even when matrix is unsaturated. And calibration yielded water percentage rate of 0.01 to 1% dry fracture travel times to water table of the about 3500. Okay, so in case of disposal of radioactive element, you need to also check the permeability of the soil. If the soil is very permeable, if the permeability rate is high, so that radioactive element, that radioactive waste can be mixed with the underground, can be mixed with the underground water. So for making any decision, for making any decision in the disposal of radioactive waste, you should also check the permeability of that area. How fast is the permeability of the water in that area? If the area is highly permeable, so definitely that radioactive waste can be disposed, can be filtered through the surface of the earth and can mix with the underground water. That will be dangerous for the human life when that kind of water will be used by different population. Okay, so there may be some atmospheric condition can also be important for the disposal sites. So decision support system also takes care the environmental condition. If you have selected a site for the disposal of radioactive waste, so you should also take care the environmental condition, whether your disposal of the radioactive waste is affecting the environment or not. Okay, so this is another you see here. So these are the decision model framework. If it is a case study showing how we can dispose the radioactive waste, that may be away from the population, that may be away from the city or any area having population. So it is having multiple components. So decision making model having multiple components. There should be climatic precipitation, infiltration. Then they should also have different unsaturated zone flow and transport, saturated zone flow. So these all factors should be taken into consideration when we are working on a decision making process, especially in case of the disposal of radioactive waste. Otherwise it will be very dangerous. Otherwise it will directly affect the water quality and the soil quality. It can also affect the health of the human living in that area. Okay, will there be new faults and fractures? Okay, these factors should also be important to take care, and you should know how many faults and fractures will be in the next few years in that area. Will the local tectonic remain inactive? Who will be there in the notice in that area, and what languages do you write the warning notice? So and there are other factors, geological factors can also be taken into consideration during the decision making process of the disposal of radioactive waste. Okay, so this is the current YMP total system model. This figure is not very clear but you can see these are the different factors. These are different environmental, different socioeconomic factors, different kinds of you can say these are different uh, factors which can be responsible for the decision making process, which can affect the decision making process in case of the disposal of radioactive waste in an urban area, in a highly urbanized area. Okay, the problem, but there may be some controversial issues there. There may be some problems, like it's being called a devastating blow to the Yucca Mountain project. Some of the government's scientific data may have been faked. Workers on the proposed nuclear waste dump are under investigation for lying about their research, meaning the sound science President Bush said he was following might be wrong. So in case of decision making process, sometimes there may be some controversy if you are not taking care all the factors related to the socio-economic condition, related to the environmental condition, related to the other factors who may directly or indirectly affect your decision making process. So today we have discussed spatial decision support system. We have defined different components of a spatial decision support system. Okay, and it's a computer-based system that is designed to support a user or group of the users in achieving a higher effectiveness of the decision making while solving a semi-structured problem. And SDSS concept is based on the DDM, that is dialogue data model paradigm. A well-designed SDSS should have balance among three capabilities. There are three sets of technologies for building an SDSS: the DSS development tools, the DSS generators. The DSS tools facilitate the development of specific SDSS, or they can be configured into a DSS generator, which is turn can be used to build a variety of specific SDSS. So DSS is a broader term, and when we talk about SDSS, so we just deal with the spatial data sets. We deal with the raster data sets or vector data sets to make any decision in case of semi-structured problem. Semi-structured problem means you don't know the influencing factors. You don't know the factors who can which may affect the decision. So SDSS is very much useful. It is very effective in solving a semi-structured problem where you don't know what are the influencing factors, what are the factors who may affect your decision during the decision making process. So in case of this semi-structured problem, we should have the option of applying SDSS. SDSS is based on the development of the dialogue, data, and model. And also, there are a set of technologies for building an SDSS, the DSS development tools, and the DSS generators, and the specific SDSS. So thank you very much for today's class. And we will meet again in the next class with the next lecture. Thank you very much.